Hello guys, welcome back to Meta Model, and today what we're going to be modeling is a low poly sailboat. So this is for anybody from a beginner to an intermediate to an advanced 3D modeler in Blender. The first thing I'm going to be showing you guys is some basic hotkeys, some basic shortcuts, and how to structurally model the low poly sailboat. The next thing I'm going to be showing you guys how to model is how to create the materials, what types of materials you might want to create, and how to assign these to certain parts of the sailboat. The next part I'm going to be showing you guys how to do is how to render it. So we're going to be rendering it in an image and an animation so you guys can post it with your community, your friends, and your family. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be deleting all of this stuff. And so we're going to select it all by clicking your left mouse, and we're just going to drag and make this box just like that. And then we're going to hit delete. The reason for us doing this is it's going to be much easier for us to deal with less objects in the final result than have those and clutter it up. It's going to be easier for us to add those when we need them instead of having to deal with them throughout the structuring process. So the very first thing we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be adding a UV sphere. And so to do this, you can do Shift A, which will bring up the add menu. We're going to go to mesh, and we're going to go all the way down right here, and we're going to click UV sphere. This is going to be the base of our boat, and this is what we're going to be modeling around for the next bit. Okay, so now that we have added the UV sphere, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to click Tab on our keyboard. What this will do is this will send us into edit mode, and as you can see, we have all these lines, and if we click 1, we're going to have all these vertices, and if we click 3, we'll have all the faces. So right now we're going to stick to 1, so click 1, and we'll be in vertices mode. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do Shift Z. So what Shift Z does is that does this. As you can see, we can see through all the points and all the faces, and we can see all the lines that build up our mesh. And this is actually called wireframe mode. So if you look in this top right corner right here, when I do Shift Z, it goes back to solid, and then when I do Shift Z again, it'll go back to wireframe. So we're going to stick to wireframe. So go ahead and, as you can see in the sphere up on the top right corner, click Y. So now we're in this face mode. And we're just going to go ahead and select all of these guys right here. And so now, since we're in wireframe mode, that selects the ones behind it too. If we were in solid mode, it wouldn't have done that. We're going to go ahead and, whoops, actually, we're going to go ahead and select all of these. And we're going to go ahead and click delete. So then we're going to go back into solid mode, and we're going to click tab to go back into object mode, and we're going to click G. G is to move, and then Z, which will lock it to the Z axis, which is a really nice shortcut so it doesn't move anywhere that we don't want it to move. Now that we have that, we're actually going to want to make our bottom not look like a bowl, but we're actually going to want it to make it look like a sailboat. So to do this, we're going to go back into tab, and we're actually going to click 2 this time, so we're in lines view. And we're going to click this Z in the top right sphere, and we're going to select these 4 on each side. But first do one side because it won't work if we do 2 sides at once. So what you're going to want to do is you can see up here in this top center, there's a circular button. A shortcut to do that, it's called proportional editing, and the shortcut for it is O. So if I go ahead and hit O, now you'll see that when I click stuff like G, it has this circle. So what this does is, as you can see, it's moving the entire thing in the circle scope. Instead of, let's say, I disable it, then it'll just do that. But if I enable it, it will move the entire thing. So what we're going to be using this for is we're going to be using it to make it look much smoother than if we didn't use it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is G, then X to lock it to the X axis, and then 0.3. That is just enough to get both sides looking good. So now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for this side. And we're going to go ahead and select these 4. G, X, and negative 0.3 this time because we're going the other way. So minus 0.3. Now you can see this is starting to look a bit better. And the last thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go into face mode. So click 3. We're going to select this bottom area right here. And we're going to stay in proportional editing, and we're just going to bring this up a bit. So let's click this Y, and we just need it to look nice and smooth. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back into edit mode, and we're going to do this. So what we want to do is we want to select this entire outer ring, this entire outer border. Instead of selecting that manually, what we can do is let's hit Z in the top corner again, and we can just go this, and then press Alt and click. That will select the entire ring. It's a really useful shortcut that we can use, and it saves a lot of time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click S to scale, and we're going to make the railing for the boat. So you can choose how big you want this to be. Obviously, this is just a tutorial, so you guys can customize this how you want, but I'm going to have mine be this big. We're going to go back into face mode, and the same thing applies to faces. You can click Alt and it'll select everything. But first, actually, what we want to do is we want to fill this gap right here. So that's like that. And then we go back to face mode, click this, and we can click EZ. It's already locked to Z because we did that before. But now it's going to be completely locked to Z for the rest of the period. Now that we have this, we are done with the base of our boat. So as you can see, it's looking pretty nice, and it's pretty low poly. It's looking pretty game-based, low poly art. So now we're going to add a cylinder to make the mast of the boat. What we're going to do for this is, again, Shift A, then we're going to click cylinder, and this is way too big for the mast. So we're going to do S, Shift Z, so this scales on all axes but Z, and we're just going to have it nice and thin, just like this. We're going to hit G, Z, and we're going to have it just like that. So it's tall enough but not too tall, and we're going to have it just a bit in the boat so we know it's not sticking out at all. Now that we have that, what we're going to go ahead and do is see how it's flat on the top. This is a personal preference, but what you can do is go into face view 3, click E to extrude, and it's going to lock the Z automatically. Then what you can go ahead and do is click S, and we're just going to scale this all the way down just like that. So now it has a point on the top. Last thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a plane. This is going to be for the flag of the boat. We're going to do R for rotate, X to specify what axis we're rotating on, and 90 to tell how many degrees we're rotating. Then we're going to do S to scale it down, G, Z to scale or move it up, and scale it down again because this is way too big. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do GX, just like this. Let's take a look, make sure it's not too far back. And you can have it a square, but I want mine to be a triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, delete this point right up here. And see how it's just a bunch of points now? But what we can go ahead and do is control this, and then do another control right here. And, shift, and click F to fill. So that will fill those 2 dots. Now if we select 3 and we click fill, that'll create a face. So now when we tab out and go back to object mode, we can see that it is a face now. I'm just going to move it up a little bit, and there we go. That's our structural base for our boat. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put materials on it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. This is the next segment, but I recommend doing it so it looks better and it looks more professional. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode. And for me, I'm going to make this base and railing navy blue. I'm going to make this mast and this floor white. And I'm going to make the flag red. I'll show you guys how to do it. First, what we want to do is we want to add a new material. So we're going to click new, and we're going to rename it to navy. Right now, there's nothing much, but we're going to change that. right about there. What we can do is we can go to material preview mode. That will show us what our material looks like. This is about the blue I wanted. We're going to tab out and take a look, and I think that's good. The problem is, see this floor? That's not what color I wanted it to be. So how do we make that white? Well, what you can do is let's go to face mode, and we're going to select this. The first thing you can do is you need to add a new slot for a material, and then add a new material, and we'll name this white. It's already white, but we can make it even whiter, which is what I want to do. Bright white. We'll select this, and what we can do, we're going to select white and hit assign. So now, as you can see, we have our floor a nice white color. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to select this. This also needs to be that same white color. So we're going to add a new material, and we're just going to make this a bit brighter. It's as simple as that. Last but not least, we're going to add this red right up here. What we can do is we're going to go right here, and I think that looks good. But if I'm being honest, I kind of want the top of the mast to be a bit red. So let's zoom in here. And we're just going to select the top of that real quick. Now what we're going to do is same thing as always. Add a new slot, add a new material, and we're going to call this one red. Now I'm just going to bring that right down here. And let's say I want this to be the exact same shade. Well, what I can do is I can go here, I can click the hex code, I can copy paste this, and then when I go back over here and I go to the red, I can go to the hex code here and copy paste this in right there. So now they're the exact same color. That's it for material preview. Now, the next segment, I will be showing you guys how to render this. To render this, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to this top right corner and see this fourth circular option. When you hover over it, it should say rendered. So we're going to go ahead and click this. And right now, it looks extremely ugly, and that's because we haven't done lighting yet. So the first thing we're going to want to do is let's add a plane. So we're going to use this for our background so it doesn't look like this generic grid. Let's go ahead and hit S to scale it up. And we're going to have this pretty big. We're going to go ahead and click G and then Z, and we're going to move this down so add some spatial depth to our scene. And we're going to go and hit Tab to tab in to edit mode. Click 1 to get to vertices mode, and click EZ so we can extrude this up. Now, we're probably going to want to go ahead and zoom out so we can make it come higher. And see this line that's joining the two? Select that. We're going to click 2 to go to line selection mode, and Control B to bevel it. As you can see, this gives this nice roundish look, and we're going to go ahead and see in the bottom left corner, there's this arrow. Click that and go to segments. I think 32 should be good. Then we're going to do tab, right click, and click shade auto smooth. Now we're going to go ahead and select our sphere as well as our cylinder and plane. Make sure you don't select the wrong plane. So plane, cylinder, and sphere. And we're going to move these up. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go and click -Y, Shift A, go down to light, and click area light. Then click R, X, 90, G, Z, G, Y, S, and then we're going to go to this right panel right here, and we're already in the lighting area. If you're not, it's this little green light bulb, and when you hover over it, it should say Data, Object Data Properties, and we're going to go ahead and increase this to, let's try 500. I'd say probably stronger to 1,000. Yeah, there we go. That looks much better. Now, this background doesn't look amazing, so we're going to want to change the color of this. as usual, we're going to go to materials, and I think a nice light bluish. So right about here is where you want to be. We're going to go ahead and add more of these because unless you want it dark, it's your choice, obviously, but I don't like mine dark, and I like mine to be nice and cozy. So I'm going to go ahead and G right here, R, X, then R, Z, and then G, Z, G, Y, G, X, and then we're just going to do Shift D, X, R, Z, 180. We're going to rotate around, R, Z, and just like that. Then we're gonna duplicate this, and actually what we're gonna do, Shift A, light, and then point, G, Z, G, Y, and we're gonna go to power. Let's hit 2000. That seems about right. Let's move it away from the wall a bit. And we're gonna color this. So we're gonna go over here, select this, click the hex code, Control C, go back to the light, go to the color, go to the hex code, and then Control V. So now as you can see, it blends in much better. Last thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to click -Y in the top right corner, Shift A, camera, which will automatically make this camera right here, G, Y, G, X, sorry, Z, R, X, G, Z, and let's take a look at this. If you're on a keyboard and not a laptop, or you have a number pad on your laptop, click number pad 0. Otherwise, a normal 0 on a normal keyboard will not work. So if you're on a normal computer, go ahead and click this right here. But I'm on a laptop, so I'm going to go ahead and hit 0. So as we can see, our background isn't quite big enough. So I'm going to do S, Shift Z, and then this needs to go up a bit higher. There's no lighting on the top, and so it's kind of looking gloomy. I'm going to go ahead, Shift D, G, Y, and then RX 90, RX 180, G, Z, G, Y, and there we go. That looks better. So now if we take a look, it looks much more professional and much nicer than it was before. And I think I'm actually going to go ahead and bring this up to 3000 watts. We're going to go back, and there we go. Now, we're going to hit render, and when you click render image right up here, it should render the image. And now it'll look something like this. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you guys customized it or followed the tutorial along and learned a lot of things. Please subscribe, like, and share with anybody you know. Additionally, I'll be putting my Sketchfab links so you can download my 3D models, as well as my Discord link and Twitter link into the description below. Make sure you go check those out and view the models I have on there. Thank you guys. See you next time.